Morning and welcome to our broadcast. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, the 11th day of March, and do let us know if you wonderful folks are hearing us loud and clear. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to all of you. And let's get a bit of sad news out of the way as we come on this morning. We're learning that there was an accident on the Linden Suzdijk Highway early this morning that claimed the life of at least one person, and this is from this young man hails from Amelia's Ward in Linden, and his name is given as Karen Warner of Amelia's Ward in Linden. Karen Warner of Amelia's Ward, and we're told that a truck and a motor car collided on the Linden Suzdijk Highway that resulted in this fatality. Our thoughts and prayers with the friends and families in the Linden community. Karen Warner lost his life on the Linden Suzdijk Highway this morning. And again, thoughts and prayers with his family. Let us endeavor to use the roadways with care. We don't know much more about this horrific accident this morning on the Linden Suzdijk Highway. Suffice that it has resulted in a fatality. This young man, Karen Warner, who hails from Amelia's Ward in Linden. And that's the sad note the day starts on. That's the sad note the day starts on. I mean, we don't like to think about that. We don't like to entertain it. But the folks say every day we wake up above ground, we ought to be thankful for it. We ought to be thankful. And this is the information that we have. At the hour, this young man, Karen Warner, lost his life early this morning as this car and truck collided on the Linden Suzdijk Highway. And we don't have much more than that. But again, our thoughts and prayers are with his family as they try to navigate this difficult time, difficult time. Let us endeavor to be a little more cautious on the roadways. I think it was yesterday, I've been looking for it, a photograph somebody published on social media, but a huge sign that is blocking the view of vehicles coming out at a particular entrance on the Heroes Highway. And I regret I didn't kind of save it the minute I saw it. It just underscores the problems that we got. And just last evening, those of you who are joining us, we were talking about this very thing on our broadcast: accidents. Accidents. And sadly, we don't give it the kind of attention and serious policy thinking that we need to. There's a lot of piecemeal stuff. Good morning, Rita and Audrey and Siobhan and Mandy. Andrew, Andrew wants to know, and rightfully so, what has happened to the robust road safety plan policy? They can tell you about all the speed cameras and so on. But is that reducing speed, or are we just chronicling how fast people are going? Is that actually reducing speed? Is it? And I'm happy when they publish the statistics. 4,000 more persons, not reduce, more persons found speeding or something like that. The stats are good, but we didn't seem to be moving the needle in terms of going downward. Melissa Smith, Mayborn King, and as I said, guys, every day you and I wake up above ground, we ought to be thankful. I'm thankful to God through his son, Jesus Christ. I'm thankful. And I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto all that believe. I'm not ashamed of it. I am happy. I have a belief system that is higher than me. When my kids and my wife, they come to me, they looking to me for guidance. They look to me for guidance, and who do I go to? You better get something higher than you. You better get somebody higher than you can look to. And I've learned there's only so much man could do for you. The arm of flesh can fail, right? The arm of flesh, I have found my faith in that higher power. It's not misplaced. I'm thankful for that. With that being said, folks, I hope that you guys, Melissa, Waveney, Everil, Natasha, Mandy, Deborah, I wish that you all are in a strong place today. Deborah said, preach, Sharon. Amen. Starting you all on a heavy, light note. A heavy, light note. If you're playing this on piano, you get a minor chord, and then what's a more joyful note? But good morning to all of you. Brenda Casey on the live this morning. Alita is here too. Goodyear. That's a wonderful handles for names. Andrew Griffith is here. Everil, Rena Marks, Melissa, Mandy. Mandy is here too. Going to have all of you on. I feel like don't even talk about nothing else. When you're among friends, it's got to lead the conversation. Sometimes you're just listening in. And if you're among really good friends, and nobody even have to say nothing, silence, you ever get, that's when you really connect. A friend, a spouse, you understand me? Right? I got a couple of good friends. Maybe you can call them on one hand. A couple, right? Don't let them 5,000 Facebook friends you see on my profile fool you. Some people say, "Share, everybody know you." No, that's not so. Not nearly enough to get out the valid, credible information. Not nearly enough, And we were with our son at church last week, and he said, "Daddy, everybody like you." He said, everybody like you, Daddy. I see you think so. You think so, no? You know, I got a couple good friends. I remember I have a couple good friends. Let me finish my sentence. I have a couple good friends. And I remember being in Latem, um, not this recent trip, during summer last year. I remember being in Latem during summer last year. Somebody sing song. Pretty Melissa sing song. Now I'm seeing our things bouncing up and down here. I'm getting song good here. I'm seeing all the lights and so on. Sometimes if you got a big back TV, you gotta hit it one time. So whap, what taps, and you can get through. Pretty Melissa says no song. Folks, is that your lived experience right now on this broadcast? Mandy says loud and clear over here. Mandy says loud and clear. Sometimes you got a big back TV. You gotta fine tune that that dial. You gotta fix it from scrambling first. And I don't know about you, but back in the days, you could swing that thing and you fine tune in. You got your Vera scrambling thing on top, and um, it'll make a difference, right? You gotta hit the TV, so whap, you know, you hear the TV crystal clear. Vanilla, um, Vanilla Brown says no sound. Vanilla, well, the others contending with the answer loud and clear, loud and clear. Loud, you know. Sometimes you fine tune in that TV. You fine tune in. Mm-mm. You can't catch TJ Hooker. You ah, I carry some you up down the road of memory lane. Hey, you can't catch TJ Hooker. You can't catch Dallas. You can't catch was it cops? The one with the traffic policemen. You can't, you fighting up. You gotta catch a little house of the prairie and so on. You hear the TV. Those are the golden days of television. Now it's a lot of nonsense. Plenty more stations, but a lot of nonsense. Oh, up. You hear the TV, sir? Crystal clear. But I was telling you, I'm just happy for a couple of good friends, man. A couple of good friends. I remember something we discussing. A lot of us had gone out at a fantastic eatery in Latem, and something was being discussed that was sensitive. And when the topic was raised and names were being called, I look at my colleague. My colleague looked back at me, and that was all we needed, right? Right? I look at my colleague looked back at me, so we said nothing. But in that moment, we knew what each other were thinking. Sometimes silence could be good too. That's the point I'm making. You got some really close friends, are really close. You and your spouse, y'all gel like that. My wife and I too, just got make sense. Right? I learned to talk when I was much older. My sister was older than I was, and when her friends would come or my mother's friends would come over and so on, and you present yourself, my mother won't have to give you an I. Y'all know the I? Lorelli? Right? Or is it just Laurel? Donna? My mother just had to give you I. You know the whole book. Same way you run, come in for see, or you would crawl back in your hole like Matrix. You said the I, sir. And you know the I said, get back. But good morning, guys. I started y'all in a sad note with the accident on the Linden Suzdike Highway, and now just kind of lightening things up a little bit, right? Brenda say nobody I. Yvette Wolford say yes, I nobody I. Right? Todix wants to know what time we come on. We here now. You just right? Margaret said the eye and the folding of the arms. We didn't get to the folding of the arms. If the arms ever folded, you're the presiding over your own funeral. To tell you, once you hear the gunshot, you're still alive. Good. We never get to the arms being folded. The eye was so strong, Margaret. Good morning to all. Good morning to each and every one of you. I hope you all got up this morning. You said your prayers and what's not, and you're ready to hit the day running. You know, you're ready to hit the ground running for the rest of the day. Right? Some of y'all giving the kids the eyes, so you know. Some of y'all we raise children different now. Maybe we know differently. Maybe we just get old and tired and cold. But kids, we raise kids different now. You know, kids are more engaging. That's the term you want to use, or more precocious. You know, kids are more engaging and stuff. Maybe it's technology. Maybe it's more information that's available. All right. So I went from about when I was born till about 1920, it was just an eye. The eye tell you to get up, go and bathe. Body body language for you, body language. A lot happening, folks. A lot happening. Caribbean states are discussing managed migration. It's something we gotta contend with here, right? Y'all appreciate. Maybe you're just in the daily grind every day. You're just in the daily grind. You can't really appreciate how much the complexion of this country is changing. And you know what? I want to give a heads up to a young, bright young man, a bright young man, Alan Finance. He's a brother of member Parliament Trader Finance. And I'll tell you why. Right? I'll tell you why. Alan loves economics and he understands these issues. And I remember this was could have been 10 years ago. We had a function at the Theatre Guild discussing some oil and gas economics issues. And I remember Alan was one of the first persons. Maybe I was listening very keenly then. Maybe it was before then, but I remember Alan Fernand, lay out this thing in graphic detail, how much this country will change with the advent of oil and gas. And I remember how much in awe I was at the clarity of his thoughts, right? You got some people who can come and say, well, I have his daughter. That's not enough, right? The really bright people can see the thing 10 years out. That is what I was listening to that makes a couple like Apple, that makes all the smartphones and the good computers and so on and so forth. Good. They say Apple working on products that are going to be relevant 20 years from now, right? 10, 15 years out. They said Steve Jobs could see around corners. Those are the true visionaries. And I always think back when I see how much this, I ain't talking about economic growth. I'm talking about the convergence of people in this country. And we were always a multi-ethnic society based on how we come here. And to see where it is changing. You go on TikTok and you listen to the Guyanese influencers, Mola and Lola and all are great influencers. They can be the minority, right? Like how they said the demographics in the US, Caucasians going to be the minority. We Guyanese, born and bred, right? The immigrants taking we over. And that is why we have always advocated for a sound migration policy. Because, Charles, Deirdre, it impacts on every facet of our lives. The more people who come here to live, right? We ain't birthing our population as fast as people are pouring in here, right? Given the oil wealth that we have now, and everybody want a piece of the pie. I don't vex. There were times when other countries were doing well and we went for betterment, and we can discuss the betterment just now. we went for betterment. So we'd be very ungrateful if we start now, saying we want Barbadians here, we want no Jamaicans here. So, it's our turn to be hospitable, to be courteous, right? But we got to do it in a very structured way, because if we only catering for 750,000 in our healthcare system, but really and truly we got 2 million people here living, not passing through, living. You see how the healthcare system could become strained. You see how it could become strained, right? Transportation too. If we don't have good transportation policies, for instance, right? If we don't have good transportation policies, it would mean, you remind me whose birthday it is. I just sing the happy birthdays, but I've missed it somewhere. If we don't have good transportation policy, we could be building roads, but we never build enough roads. More, have you found that? Those of you who are living here, have you found that? Turn the song off there for a second. The more roads we build, more traffic. I was on the Heroes Highway earlier this morning, and for that hour, for the amount of traffic, and I was moving from Diamond all the way to Ogle, and at 6:37 in the morning, if you see traffic. My wife was remarking the other day, we were heading up the East Coast on Sunday, and if you see cars, it used to be you hardly had anything moving on a Sunday. Not now. Traffic jam on a Sunday. If we don't have the right policies, that's the point I'm making. We don't have the right policies. We never have enough roads, especially in the city. Housing, it impacts housing as well. Because if we are catering only for a population where housing is concerned, right, you're going to see more squatting. You're going to see more Venezuelan, more Spanish squatting, and others as well, because we don't have enough houses for the population that we have. And hence why all of this intersects with a coherent, comprehensive migration policy. And then you got to weed out now all the undesirables, who come for spy, who is thief, who is criminal, and so on. But if we just open and say, whoever will may come, that's a recipe for catastrophe, right? So this is part of what Caribbean leaders are contemplating and rationalizing. It was a recent conference hosted by the International Organization for Migration and CARICOM in the region, right? And they discussed the labor shortages and emigration, right? All important issues. Dominica's ambassador warned that the aging population and outward migration are leaving countries short of workers. And that's one of the things we are grappling with, at least they tell us. We don't have enough workers for the labor, the labor market. We don't have it. All right? We don't have it. I was in a supermarket over the weekend. We talked about migration. I know the owners of the supermarket, so I was asking, I said, because when I move around the supermarket, I as I told you, the complexion is changing, right? I realize I'm not seeing the people I normally see in the supermarket, tending to the shelves and so on. So I asked, I said, how is the new Spanish labor and the new labor force period treating you guys? Excuse me. And the guy said, they are very hardworking and they're very consistent. But he says on and off, you get some pilferage. Let me put it in that way. You get some pilferage, because some of them are catching hell. They just come and so on, and they're catching hell. I asked, I said, is there any difference in pay? I mean, because if you have an oversupply of labor, right, then you can reduce because the market, you can reduce what you pay. So no, we still pay the normal rates we pay local staff and so on. But they said the labor is very consistent, even except some instances where you got they find a little uptick in pilferage more than you would find among the locals. But there lots are coming for work. Lots are coming for work. And the other thing that my colleague said that he thought outweighed everything else. He said he thought the consistency was good. People show up for work and they work hard. I said, well, okay, a plus. But he said the other thing that customers were complaining a little bit about is the language barrier. Right? That was part of what the customers were complaining about. And that works twofold too. Because let's say the Spanish who are coming here for a better way of life or a faster way of life, whatever it is, they have to learn the language too. And likewise, we too have to learn the language as well. We too have to learn the language too, at least in a conversational way that we can communicate. Yeah, this is where we are. This is where we are. And a timely conference. A timely conference. So this is part of the discussion for coordinated regional policies to manage migration and labor mobility. We see it every day. And we will be the proverbial ostrich if we bury our heads in the sand on this issue. We got to deal with it head on, but we gotta Guyana has to deal with this issue head on. While that is happening, our stance on Cuba, a lot of attention is being put on this Cuba policy, and Dr. Ashley Singh, who was part of the panel of this program last evening at the Marriott, this BBC World Questions Forum at the Guyana Pegasus, rather. All right. The issue came up. He was questioned about Guyana's position on Cuba, right? And this was audience members pressing the moderator. Apologies. The members of the audience, right? Concerning statements of President Irfan Ali, which suggests changes were needed in Cuba. And the senior minister in the office of the president with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, right, said that the government of Guyana does not support regime change. I mean, they got to make up their mind. Unless we miss something, Irfan said. Unless we miss something, right? The government of Guyana does not support regime change, is what Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh is quoted as saying. Right? He explained that the administration's position is focused on improving the lives of Cuban citizens while maintaining diplomatic engagement. Now, this is the kind of government we have. One day they believe one thing, next day they something else. You call it situational diplomacy, transactional diplomacy, right? So what is it Monday? We change your mind now. So this is Dr. Ashley Singh saying that they don't believe in regime change, but they're focused on improving the lives of Cuban brothers and sisters while maintaining diplomatic engagement. No, I would love to know how they've done that. I'd love to know that. I'd love to know that. How have they tried to help our Cuban brothers and sisters? They fired the medical brigade, and they said the other day they're not using our oil to do to help the Cuban cause. So Dr. Ashley Singh says they want to improve the lives of Cuban citizens, our brothers and sisters in Cuba. So give us something. I mean, something like that is said. You say, go on, yeah, go on, go on, right? So it was at this discussion, at this forum, a lot of things come out. A lot of things come out there, as the people want, they like to say, coming out at this forum, because apparently, right, you didn't hear it from us, right? Cost of living apparently was a major feature at this forum. The cost of living, we heard, was one of those issues, and there was a big back and forth, and this is the World's Questions Forum at Pegasus, and of course, they say we're the high-income country now, We got the fastest growing GDP and, biggest per capita GDP and fastest growing economy, high-income country, and so on. But I think I don't want to misconstrue that Clinton Erling, businessman, and Miss Delgatti Dean, and so on. I think they did say too that, yes, we look in good on paper and so on, and there are lots of money is being spent on big projects and so on, but more has to be done to benefit the man, because this wasn't APNU talking. I saw Attorney Darren Wade saying that APNU should have been better represented there because Win was there and Kwame and his boys were there and so on. But maybe it was a good thing, right? Maybe it was a good thing, because this wasn't APNU. This was people who went there in their own deliberate judgment, said cost of living, big sahib, Ashni, short sahib, Ashni, the cost of living. The cost of living, right? And of course, they're going to tell you about some freight charge and consumption tax and so on, the benefits of which never really filters down to the people and so forth. They can quote a couple figures, right? They said it created 110,000 jobs and so on. I think it was the moderator that intervened and said, well, but these are low paying, these are clerical jobs. And so Ashni came back and said, oh, no. Yeah. At least of this 110,000, 5,000 is high paying jobs in the oil sector. High paying jobs in the oil sector, about 5,000, so on. Or what's not, and that is the crux of it. There's always a small group of people who won't get by, right? There's a small group of people who are benefiting tremendously, From day one, they've been against cash transfers. From day one, they've been against cash grants, Initially saying this, it was nonsense. And then slowly, as cost of living started biting more and more, they said, all right, we can give you some of the crumbs. We can give you some of the crumbs. But the point I want to make here, right? Look, man, these saying celery is 3,000 a pound. Says birthdays, anniversaries, and Christmas. Eating celery, 3,000 a pound. And that is the other point I'm coming to. Right? I hear them laugh. This was I must look for it. the agriculture minister, before the alliance with change lost its footing and came out of existence, right? Somebody said to me the other day, Sharon, you notice since you Drake Ricky left, the whole thing collapsed. I never put it in that context. Main thing, I got a kind of power, that kind of pull. You understand me? Main thing, I got a kind of pull. But as I digress, at this church conference, the Full Gospel conference last week, a couple pulled me away, pulled me in a corner. A beautiful couple, and they said, Mr. Duncan, as soon as you left, we left too, because you left. I said, what are you talking about? Because unless people don't remind me, I always look at what's in front of me. I'm not gonna be like Lot's wife. I focus on the future. I said, left what? Left where? Right? I wonder if it's the meeting or this beautiful conference that we were in. I said, no. When you left AFC, we left too. I said, I call a colleague of mine, and I said, listen to what these people telling me, because I couldn't believe my ear. So when you left, I left too. I said, left where? I said, when you left the AFC, we left too. So I just looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. But that being said, I digress. Cost of living. I remember when Kemraj raised the issue in the National Assembly about how the prices in the marketplace for vegetables was going up, boro and so on. I remember the Minister of Agriculture laughed and said, what kind of bore economy? Bora. I don't find anything and play back for you. So out of touch they were, right? So out of touch. Here Diane Graves-Andy telling us about the accident on Linden-Subic Highway. Diane is from Linden. Diane said, until now, the young man in the car under the truck, 3.5 hours later, from Georgetown to Linden is an hour. From Georgetown to Linden is an hour driving. It's an hour. Diane Graves-Andy, I have no reason to disbelieve what she's saying here. Until now, the young man still under the car, under the truck. 3.5 hours later. Right? The care, pass this one. You got to prove it. Show it. By improved lives. Show it. So the Minister for Agriculture was laughing at what Kemat was saying. Because he said, you got a Bora mentality. But who feels it knows. Right? What came out of this BBC World Questions Forum, the major part I read, is people judge the movement in the economy by the daily experiences in the marketplace. Right? A $200 more added to bread, right? A $150 more added to oil, a $250 to Bora, and that's how. You see, ministers are so loaf. They're getting the $1.8 million a month. Right? They don't go to market. They send the maid. They don't buy gasoline. Right? They're not subjected to the healthcare you and I are subjected to. The finance minister can fly to Dubai and check his blood pressure. The vice president can take a chartered plane to Miami to see why he has a headache. So they ain't going to them same regional hospitals they got. Right? You ever see any minister check in there and say, look, we're benefiting from the same healthcare? Huh? The big ones here in this country, their kids go into public schools. You heard a rationale from the Minister of Education then, the President and the First Lady then, why their children not going to the public schools. It's a parent's choice, and we all got, but what an example. What an example. We talk in growing terms of the public school system, but your kids don't go there. It is so nice. It's too nice for them. That's another story. But the cost of living, that's the point I want to make. Our lived experience featured very high at this conference. That is what we're hearing. Featured high. Why? Because people catching the tail. People catching the tail in this country. And people want help. People want help. Accident happened 3.5 hours ago. Right? A distance that should take you less than an hour. And if ambulances put on the siren, should get there in less time than that. And a body still in a vehicle. And you want to say we are the fastest. The fastest what? You serious? Huh? You serious? Bear with us for another 4 or 5 minutes and then we out of y'all face. Right. We spoke about this issue yesterday. They are advancing this single window system that if it ran efficiently could improve the lives of Guyanese. But like anything else, they're just interested in cutting the ribbon and says, we have this software system that helps you do X, Y, Z. Does it actually do that? Right? You have one portal. You can apply for your land. You can get clearance to get your electricity and water and so on. Applying right through this portal and so on. It should be more efficient. It should be working smarter, not working harder. But people are complaining and told me, and it's all over social media, their comments, that in too many instances, you apply online and then you still got to carry a paper application. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Our big son, I always tell this story. He has Trinidadian nationality and now American nationality. But I remember when we were renewing his Trinidadian passport a couple of years ago, you just get online. Get online and you apply. I never see anybody in the office. Never spoke to anybody by telephone. Just online. You access the system. They message you back. You submit the relevant documentation. Right? And they were moving, I think, from a written passport to a machine-readable passport, and his passport had expired in the middle of all of that. And I was so amazed that right in that process, long before we brought this feature here, you could pay at $20 TT extra or $40 and expedite the process. And I ain't pick up a phone, I ain't stand up in a line, nothing. And that we were able to get the new passport. The people post the thing via UPS, DHL, whatever, you pay whatever is the cost. And it wasn't onerous. I think in under a month. When you email somebody, email you back. What is the point? You got email, you got phone number, you got portal, one portal with many problems. And you just is a repository of information. But nothing are being solved. Nothing are being made better. But single windows with multiple problems. This system got to become better. AI is not for more hurdles. No. Got to be more efficient. Problems got to solve. You can create more problem. You submit your thing for the NDC to get your clearance, whatever, pay your rates and taxes for them to give you an okay for you to get the power, the water, whatever. And then when you go there, somebody vexed at you. 8 o'clock in the morning, vexed that you come. Right? Sucking up the teeth and all kind of foolishness. You know you got to bring application? See, well, we applied with the single windows system. What's a single window system? We know nothing about that. You got to bring application. You got to have with this nonsense or anything in the morning. You got to bring application, man. we supposed to be what? That is what the people raise. They think nice on paper. They think nice on paper. You see, it look good on paper, but in reality, nothing irregular, right? Nothing irregular in reality. That's what they tell. Plenty thing irregular. And that is why proverbially we say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You could tell me how nice and all the ingredients, and you talk about it in the most fantastic way and glaze this and turmeric of India and all kinds of things. Whatever you put in, you put it. But we know how good it is. When you take the spoon mix, when you engage the systems, they must work. They must work. I tell you all, during COVID, I heard some horrific stories. Horrific stories. I heard one family told us their daughter, right, got COVID. She went for one thing at the hospital, got tested for COVID, Georgetown Hospital, and then she learned that she got COVID. They got to transfer her to the COVID center at Lillian Null. And then when she got there, they had to intubate. Am I calling it correctly? They had to intubate. And then they lost touch with her because, they weren't allowing family to go and visit because of the nature of COVID. They lost touch with her. Well, they said they, probably in a recovery period after having to be intubated or whatever the process is. And then when they realized they weren't hearing from her after a week or two, they decided, you know what, we got to check in. We got to be a little more robust in trying to find out how she's doing. And a relative of theirs said, well, I know somebody who is working there. I can find out. Lo and behold, when they do find out, the girl had died 2 weeks prior. The girl died 2 weeks prior. And she's at the crematorium, the one in Lirupantir. The girl had died 2 weeks prior. Right? But hold on for the kicker. Hold on for the kicker. Right? One, they wanted the family to stand the expense of her having been at this crematorium for 2 weeks. They got paid for that. Right? Nobody contacted the family. Nobody. Right? Nobody contacted the family. And then the girl was buried. Young lady was buried. And the family says about a week after that, somebody from the Ministry of Health called. You ready for the kicker? Naomi, you ready for the kicker? Margaret? Mandy and Dolly? You ready for the kicker? Somebody from the Ministry of Health called to find out how the COVID patient was progressing. Apparently, the health system need a single window. The Ministry of Health called after the patient dead and buried to find out how the Larissa send. I asked if you're ready. Larissa sent through. The Ministry of Health called to find out how the patient is progressing. Right? It meant that the ministry ain't in touch with the COVID center. They were calling the patient relatives directly to find out how the patient progressing. Yeah. Yeah. But I'll tell you what. I remember when I conducted COVID, I wasn't feeling well and I chose a random site in Kitty. I went to get tested. And before I knew the test, government announced how we had exposed a set of people at the convention center to COVID. And I didn't get the result of the test yet. It's a police state we're in. But the family who really needed the information didn't even know the girl was 2 weeks dead and at the crematorium. And then after burial, Ministry of Health called to ask how the patient progressing. And I heard so many stories like that. So many stories, you know. Yeah. The point I'm making, don't just say fastest growing economy and what you all have done and this and that and so forth. The people's lives, our collective lived experience, we don't feel that, you know. What is it? What is it? What is it? All right, we're wrapping up now. We're wrapping up now, just after 10. Just after 10 at this end. The verdict, the High Court on this extradition matter, we are told, and a broader matter that was brought before the Court of Appeal, rather. Court of Appeal has already said the magistrate court can go ahead with the matter, but some other issues were raised, right? And we told that the Court of Appeal refused to grant a stay and announced that its broader decision on this matter will be delivered on the 17th of March, the extradition of the leader of the opposition. Just saying that, my God, we've come so far. The extradition of the leader of the opposition. The Americans can't enough with leader of the opposition. My God. Woo! We're in a rough spot. We're in a rough spot. What has ever happened to the gas station bombing case? Right? You gotta like this country, man. You gotta like this country. For a couple of mornings, everything hot. This road block, the road block. Helicopters flying overhead, zoom. Everything gone quiet. Whatever happened to the matter? Whatever happened to it? They're telling us that the proceedings that are related to the October 26, 2025 bombing of the Mobile gas station on Regent Street is postponed until tomorrow in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. They said Acting Chief Magistrate Faith McGusty had granted a request by the attorneys representing the accused. And this is Daniel Alexander, Ramirez Perdomo, and Alexander Bedencourt. They asked for additional time to prepare their defense. And we told that the court is now adjourned until March 23rd. It's supposed to be tomorrow. No, it was supposed to be today, I think. The 11th or the 12th, but it's postponed until March 23rd. You all realize how the whole thing just gone down quiet? That explosion that hurt so many people and claimed the life of 6-year-old Soraya Bourne. Huh? You all remember that? Well, winding its way through the court system like anything else. That's what we're being told. Winding its way through the court system. Winding its way. This is the issue. Remember, about 3 persons lost their lives in the hull of a boat that's moored at Port Georgetown. and it was reported that they may have died from some smoke or gas or chemical inhalation. You all remember that? Well, that is still being investigated. Apparently, they have not come to a full conclusion on how these four persons died in this cargo vessel. And this is according to the Ministry of Labor and Manpower Planning, that said that investigations are continuing into the deaths of these four men who were found aboard a vessel docked at the Courtney Ben Wharf on Water Street. And according to the Labor Minister, Cuba Griffith, he said that the probe into the incident which occurred on board the vessel has not yet been completed, and that they are examining all the circumstances surrounding the deaths, and possible workplace safety issues. They are still examining that. And just before we turn off the lights here, I found I saw this, and us big people, we got to stick together. And I was telling my mom just this morning, I feel my age acutely, right? I feel, we pretend we're still younger and this and that, and I feel acutely, but we got to take care of ourselves. That's the point I want to make. That's the point I want to leave you with. We got to take care of ourselves. We're not spring chickens, And we saw this forum recently where they're talking about kidney care and early intervention programs. And the Health Minister, Frank Anthony, has announced expanded efforts to combat kidney disease, right? During the activities that marked on March 10th, World Kidney Day, right? They said the health ministry is increasing dialysis capacity and expanding services at regional health hospitals, right? They said they're providing an annual financial assistance of $600,000 to dialysis patients. But we're being told that this is, considerably low in comparison to the amount of treatment kidney patients usually need. Officials report that they have approximately 650 patients who are currently receiving dialysis treatment in Guyana. And the new initiatives are aimed to promote early detection and to improve management of chronic illnesses. Yeah. We have all of those persons who are ill in one way or the other in our prayers continually, keeping them in our prayers. And there's where we leave it this morning, folks. Us big people, we got to stick together. Thanks for joining us, all 900 of you this morning, Waveney and Ingrid and Rita. Even our morning programs get the largest live audience. Even our morning programs. And I am heartened by that. Still, 5 years out, major journalists, just let me put it like that, in this country, credible journalists in this country, reach out to us and say, we like what you all are doing, keep doing it. They said they're still amazed that we attract the largest live audience in the country on our programs, and not only the largest live audience in our country, thanks to you, but I don't look at these things, I just come and we do what we got to do. We don't do it for the likes or the shares or how many people show up, but we're happy that we're talking to ourselves. But they tell us as well, they said, even in the Caribbean-wise, even in the Caribbean, Sherrod Duncan, you attract the largest live audience that we know of for any programs, whether news, whether this, whether that, on a daily basis. And it's thanks to you folks, because you keep showing up because you're fast. Let us leave it there. All those who've been helping us, thanks for the things. It's not much, it's not many, it's not plenty, but thank you nonetheless. It means a lot to us. All right? And there's where we leave it this morning. We're going to see you guys back on our next broadcast. And I know some of you ignore it when you see it. And I promise that I'm not going to be begging this year as much as I did in previous years. But if you are so inclined to help us along, to keep going, if the program has benefited you in any way, right? You can see a link. Ignore it if you want. You choose to make a donation. It's very secure. I don't think there's a card that this link does not accept. Zelle and we partner with a very reputable international company to do this. And I think after 2 or 3 years, we have not had one issue that people have raised with us where they find we have misused their information or try to smart them in any way or anything like that. And we hold that. We cherish that. We cherish that. We hold our integrity above everything else that we do here. So thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to see you guys back on the next one. That's our time. That's our program. Rita, Gloria, Nabjo, and all the others who are joining us this morning. I see Eva's here, and Diane, and Grace, and Mandy. Have a fantastic day.